Welcome back, my students, to a brand new episode of Comic Class. And in today's lesson, guys, we're looking at Nick Spencer's The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 13, King's Ransom. And yeah, this spans a few issues in the Amazing Spider-Man Nick Spencer series. And this should be really fun, guys. So without further ado, let's jump right into today's story. Let's go. So this story starts off with Spider-Man's new outfit debuting, and this outfit actually looked really cool, and I really enjoyed the design of it. We also get to see that Wilson Fisk is actually talking to the group that he was talking to in the last volume about capturing Boomerang, and yeah, they're all in agreement that they need to go and take this guy's head. That way they can get the Lifeline tablet for the Kingpin, and the Kingpin had offered them areas and territories to grow their organization. And yeah, they all say that, you know, they hate Boomerang, so that's really cool, and they go off to try to find this dude. Now Peter actually goes to, I think it's Nora Winter's at the, I guess it's at the, I forgot what it's called, I think it's called the Threats and Menaces, and she actually introduces the new suit to Peter, saying that this was for his friend Spider-Man. And it turns out that J. Jonah Jameson is actually working with Nora Winters with this suit to kind of monitor Peter Parker while he's out in his Spider-Man outfit, basically, and fighting crime. And what they're trying to do is have the people, you know, in New York City be able to live stream Spider-Man's daily activities when he's in the suit. And yeah, so they're able to enjoy while Spider-Man is fighting against his super villains. And we're seeing kind of like the impact of this and what it's having on the Threats and Menaces paper, basically, you know, like the blog. Now we get to see that Gloria, I think it's her name, or Glory, she actually gives Robbie Robinson, you know, some information about Tombstone's daughter, Janice Lincoln. And he basically says that he wants more information about her. And it seems like he goes to talk to Randy, not knowing that he's actually dating this woman. Now, Boomerang is at the park, you know, kind of hanging out with God whenever God is almost getting assassinated by Bullseye. And instead of hitting God like in the head or something, he actually hits the collar that was limiting him to be in that small form. So he actually turns giant once again, like we saw, I think it was like volume 8 whenever he was in his giant form. So Spider-Man and Boomerang have to think fast, and they actually put a giant version of the collar on God, making him turn back to his small self. And this is where Peter realizes that how much he's gotten attached to Boomerang and God, and showing some development with their characters. Peter decides with Boomerang that they need to leave God with Mary Jane so that he doesn't get, you know, attacked by these supervillains and these gang members while they're dealing with their, you know, situation. And yeah, so Robbie Robinson goes to work, basically, and he finds out, as well as Tombstone finds out, that, you know, Randy and Janice are actually dating each other, and they're not happy about this at all. We also get to see Norman Osborn talking to Kindred, basically telling him if he remembers the day that he was telling Normie about, I think that was like in volume 11, and where he was talking about taking, you know, Harry to the beach, to Normie, basically saying that things weren't always the way that they are, so messed up. And while, you know, Norman's having that talk with his son, we get to see that Wilson Fisk has enlisted the help of Baron Mordo to kind of get Kindred to talk and give him what he wants. So they come to some sort of agreement. Now Peter and Boomerang basically team up to take on the gang members that are trying to find Boomerang and take him out and take him to Fisk, basically take his head, you know, to take to Fisk. And while they're having their battle, we get to see that Tombstone is not able to process that his daughter is dating Robbie Robinson's son, and Robbie Robinson himself goes out to, you know, talk to his son, not wanting them to continue dating, and he needs to, you know, try to talk some sense into him. And we get to learn more about, you know, their history, and that these two guys have been going at each other's throats for like a very long time. I think it spans like 20 years or something like that. And yeah, so we get to see Spider-Man and Fred, fight against, again, more gang members. And they work really well as a team. I really enjoy their interactions with each other and showing how much more of friends they have become, in the time that they've been fighting crime together. And we go to Robbie Robinson talking to Randy, basically telling him that he doesn't want, Randy to, date Janice. And, Randy's kind of like weirded out by the picture that Robbie has of him kissing Janice. But, Robbie just tells him that, he can do whatever he wants, but he knows that at Lincoln, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as he says. And we also get to see that Tombstone is having an argument with his daughter, Janice, and Janice kind of just leaves after attacking her father, I guess with some type of stun ray. And she basically leaves him to, rage and that. So they're not taking it well of their children dating each other. We also get to see, Janice and Randy talk to their, respective friends at some type of bar. And it's really cool to see, them interacting with each other, outside of their supervillain / superhero lives. And they don't really heed the advice of their friends, and eventually they talk to each other, and Randy kind of tells her that he believes that she'll change and not be a supervillain. And she doesn't really take well to this, thinking that he wants to change her instead of accepting her for how she is. But before they can kind of leave and depart from each other, they get attacked by some of the gang members that were hired by Fist. Beetle does her best to, fight against these people, but she gets taken out by another woman, I think called something like Mesquite or something like that, Lady Madame Mesquite or something. And yeah, Fred and Peter arrive, and they basically get attacked by these gang members, knowing that, Peter is the friend of Spider-Man, so they try to, get him, I guess, either to take him out to get to Spider-Man, or maybe, take him hostage. And Fred is Boomerang, so, he knows that he can fight back. And yeah, it's a really interesting situation. Now, we leave that situation to look at Norman Osborn hearing his son screaming, and it turns out that Baron Mordo is actually, torturing Harry in order to get him to, give Fisk what he wants. And Norman basically tells Fisk that he needs to, chill out and not let his son be getting tortured like this. We also get to see Robbie Robinson and Tombstone talking to each other, kind of hating on each other, blaming each other for their children's, kidnapping. And Spider-Man shows up and tells them that they need to work together if they want to find Randy and Janice. So they kind of put their heads together, and they go off to try to find Randy and Janice. Now we get to see what happened with Peter and Fred in this situation where Peter kind of knocked out Fred, that we wouldn't see him change to his new outfit, which I guess is kind of like nanotech that we saw in Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, where it kind of just forms on Tony. I think it's a similar theme with Peter's costume. And yeah, so he was able to fight his way out of there and, have a chance to go save his friend and his girlfriend. So we get to see Janice and Randy basically talking to Madame Mesquite, and kind of Janice getting on her nerves. And while that's going on, we get to see that Randy Robinson and Tombstone find a dude to give them the location of where they're holding their children. So they go off to find them. And yeah, Peter finds a note from Fred telling him that he doesn't want him to follow him, basically. Or I guess it's directed to Spider-Man, saying that he doesn't want him to follow him, that he needs to do this on his own. So Spider-Man, doesn't really accept this and says that he needs to help his friend, because now he considers Boomerang a friend. And he goes off to save Fred before, he gets himself killed. Now, we get to see a person in the darkness, and we got to see this, I guess, at the end of the last main story arc, or maybe it was before that, with them, going through the cemetery and opening a coffin, which revealed, I think, Harry Osborn's coffin being empty or something like that. But this time, it's revealed that Dr. Octopus has been revived, it seems. And I thought this guy was dead, so I guess, I don't know how he got revived. So hopefully that gets explained in the Sinister War that's supposed to be coming out soon. And it seems like Kindred is using his centipede things that go inside Dr. Octopus's ear and try to, mind control him, I guess, or something like that. So this plot line will get, I guess, resolved in July with the Sinister War. So that's cool, but we'll talk about that, later when we get into that story arc and when we cover it. But yeah, so Baron Mordo is basically torturing Harry, and Norman basically tells them to stop, and Fisk basically, listens to him, and he leaves him be, but says that he only has one more day before they try to send him back to hell, basically saying they're going to try killing him to send him back. And Harry, tells Norman that he's been wanting that type of help his entire life, basically showing that, he still has resentment for his father. So that's pretty cool that we get to see that the relationship still isn't completely perfect, but we're getting to a point where hopefully in Sinister War we're going to get a conclusion to him and Harry's relationship. But yeah, so Janice and Randy are about to get murdered whenever Tombstone and Robbie basically show up to defend them. Spider-Man also is heading towards that place whenever we get to see that Tombstone and Robbie basically are trying to, survive this. Now, we get to see the syndicate, the crime syndicate, I think is what they call themselves. Their version of the Sinister Six, though, an all-female version, show up to save their, their friend, also, her boyfriend, and also tell her that her father is paying a high price for them to save them. And yeah, it's really cool to see Robbie and Tombstone go to, untie their kids, and while they're doing that, they basically try to use reverse psychology to get them to stop dating, and they almost get murked by the dude in the purple mask when Spider-Man shows up to save the day, and him and a sinister crime syndicate basically work together, and they're not happy about that. We get a lot of funny comedic moments between Spider-Man and the crime syndicate, and yeah, we get to see Beetle take on Madame Mesquite, and she kind of knocks her out, showing Robbie basically telling Randy that he's starting to see what he sees in her, and it's funny. And at the end, they defeated their enemies. It seems their kids are going to be fine, their children, and Robbie and Tombstone are surprised to hear, as well as Spider-Man, that Randy and Janice have decided to move in together. So it seems like Spider-Man's not going to have any roommates, because we'll talk about what happens to Fred at the end. And yeah, so going back to Norman, we get to see that he talks to one of the security guards, telling him that if he knows what's good for him and his family, that he'll let him pass to see his son or some person. I don't know. It's not revealed who it is that he's talking to, so we'll see who it was, I guess, in the next volume. And yeah, so we get to see Peter have the idea when he's talking to Mary Jane about Fred that he can use God to track down Boomerang's location. So he does that, and at the end of that issue, we got to see the Defenders show up to help Spider-Man save Fred. So that's cool. And the interactions between Spider-Man and the Defenders is really funny, because they're saying that he kind of has been isolating himself in recent history. But they do agree to go help their friend try to save his friend, even though they don't really like Boomerang. And yeah, all the crime people, all the gang people basically have arrived, and Fisk has told his, I guess, secretary or something that he's going to be heading down to the battleground, basically the war ground. And he's not scared of these people, he's powerful too. And we just see a full-on battle between the Defenders and the gang people. So they're having their battle while Spider-Man goes on to try to save Fred. And while that's going on, J. Jonah Jameson is, reporting in front of a crowd, showing off his latest inventions, which are these type of spider slayers that you can control with your, I guess, mobile device. But this turns out to be a bad idea and puts J. Jonah Jameson, it seems, in some hot water. So all the collateral damage that these people are causing, because they're not professionals. So that probably won't be an ongoing plot point in the future, so I'm glad for that. So I would not want to see tons of random people using spider slayers and getting in Spider-Man's way and the plot's way. So that's cool. So Spider-Man arrives and he finds Fred, slash Boomerang. It basically talks to him. It tells him that he's not a failure and that he can be a hero if he wants. That he's been doing his best to become a hero. And they get in a fight with Shocker, Hydro Man, and I don't know what this guy is. I think some type of speedster type character, and they get in a fight, and even Shocker states that Boomerang used to be like them, we're even partners at once, and they have a fight, and it's really cool. Eventually they get defeated, the villains, and we just see that Wilson Fisk shows up and realizes that his lifeline tablet is gone and that the Black Cat actually stole it. So the Black Cat arrives in front of Spidey and Boomerang, with Boomerang saying that we used to date, which was a really funny thing when Felicia basically said we really didn't. And she basically tells them that she'll meet them back at the rendezvous point, and she leaves Spider-Man and Fred to go off to get the final lifeline tablet, which they do, and they get confronted by this type of spiritual figure saying that tells them that only a person that's worthy and I guess pure of heart can actually hold the tablet, that anyone that isn't will have indeed certain death. So Spider-Man has Boomerang tied up, basically, as Boomerang was gonna put himself in danger, trying to prove himself as a hero. And Spider-Man says, "You've already proven it, but you're still working on it." So he basically turns off J. Jonah Jameson's, spider suit that, allows him to live stream what's happening. And he basically, admits to all his failures that he sees in himself. And he tries to grab the tablet, acknowledging that this could be the end for him. But when he grabs the tablet, the spiritual figure basically says that, he's passed. And after, it leaves, the Speedster basically grabs the tablet from Spider-Man. Spider-Man gets attacked by Shocker and I guess Hydro Man as well. And he sees while he's getting kind of like drowned, or at least being knocked unconscious by Hydro Man, that Fred is there waving goodbye to him. So it seems that Fred actually betrayed Spider-Man. So Spider-Man wakes up and Felicia basically hands him a letter that Fred, I guess, had left for him. And this is where it's revealed that Fred was actually betraying Spider-Man, and he used all this, becoming Peter's friend to get close to Spider-Man and becoming Spider-Man's partner in order to, gain his trust and be able to use him to touch the Lifeline tablet so that Boomerang didn't get murdered whenever he, touched it. He didn't die instantly. But we can see that Fred doesn't seem happy with his decision while he's in the bar with No Name, with all his other supervillains, even the ones that were, attacking him, basically playing along with the role. And yeah, it's pretty sad that, Spider-Man does get affected by this, and he probably feels, very betrayed. But it seems like Fred will come back probably in the next volume to redeem himself and save Spider-Man, or at least help him out during the Sinister War story arc. So we'll see if that happens. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are predicting that ending for that. And yeah, the story ends off with the Defenders basically talking to Spider-Man, saying that, he's sorry that he told them to trust, Boomerang / Fred, and that he did, betray them. But everything's okay, just the only thing that the Kingpin was going to use the Lifeline tablet for was to bring back his wife, right? And this is where Hawkeye says, "Do you want to tell him to Luke Cage?" And it's revealed to us that Kingpin is mourning the death of his wife, and he says that he wanted Kindred to bring his wife back. But I guess Kindred has said, what makes you think that she would even want to come back to you? So this actually, weights, Kingpin up to the idea that, Kindred might be right, and that instead of bringing back his wife, which will probably just be in pain if she comes back, if she actually killed her own son, he'll grant her wish and right her wrong in how she viewed as wrong, protecting her husband. I guess the son was trying to kill Kingpin. I never read that story or know that information. That's only what I've heard, so I have to look into that. But yeah, so he basically decides not to bring his wife back, but instead with a Lifeline tablet, he's able to bring back his son for her honor and her memory. And yeah, it says, "Today your son's life is restored, and today the rose blooms once more." With I guess his name's Richard Fisk. It says, "Hello, Daddy," and that's how the volume ends. Volume 13, King's Ransom. And that's how Nick Spencer's The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 13, King's Ransom ends, leaving it on a cliffhanger of Wilson Fisk and his wife's son coming back to life. And I hear that this guy's actually really bad news, that he's actually he's a very smart individual, and that he's not very powerful, and that he doesn't have powers. But what he can do with, the crime lords and stuff like that, and just, get stuff done. He's actually very intelligent, way more intelligent than Wilson Fisk. So this seems like it should be interesting, and I can't wait to see what they use Richard Fisk's character for, and why would they bring him back. So hopefully we see what his point is in being brought back in the next volume with the Sinister War, which I believe will be the next volume. But yeah, this is looking good, guys. And I can't wait to see what comes next. Overall, King's Ransom was a pretty good volume. I enjoyed it. I thought the relationship between Randy and Janice was really fun to look at. And I love how they're kind of dealing with trying to change each other, but not wanting to change themselves as well. So hopefully they come to some type of compromise and middle ground. And yeah, as well as Peter and Boomerang's relationship, hopefully that gets resolved in the next volume, and that Boomerang redeems himself after this, betrayal that he did to Peter. At the end of the day, he didn't get Peter killed. Peter's fine. And the impact of what he did, we'll see with Richard Fisk's revival, if, he made the right choice or not. But overall, like I said, good volume, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And I can't wait to read Sinister War and cover it on the channel. But that's going to be all, guys. Until next video, be sure to check out my other videos. I cover all types of comics on this channel. I'm doing different retrospectives, covering entire comic runs. And yeah, but until next video, guys, God bless you. Until the next lesson, keep on reading those comics.